Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this video, we will discuss the natural sound sources. It is also about the origin of language, that how the first language and first words they were created. So this is another after divine source. Now we are discussing natural sound source. Natural sound source is based on natural sounds that we make in different situations. One example, uh, I mean, if you are sitting in your class and the females specifically, when there are two, three, four, five females, the ladies they are sitting, and suddenly some incident occurs, uh, an unwanted incident or something like a teacher has entered into the class, so they make a sound that ha. The ladies they usually do it ha. That mean to say that what happened actually. So this natural sound is based on these specific sounds that we make, as I told you. So it is believed that in natural sound source that in early men and women they imitated the sounds of objects they heard, that they did not speak words from their own side, but what they used to do, whatever the sounds they heard from the objects, different objects like falling down a tree, the voice of the rain, and the voices whatever they heard they used to speak. So this is known as a natural sound source, that objects whatever the voices they are making, whatever the sounds they are making, those sounds actually became their names. So the names of different objects or working of different objects is given according to the sounds they made. This is natural sound source theory, and early men and women they used to do the same. uh, Example is given over here, that a flying object making a caw sound, that like a crow is flying in the air and makes a sound caw caw. So the name was given as from caw caw to crow. Then another flying object cuckoo. So the sound comes cuckoo. So its name has become cuckoo, cucko, cuckoo. So the bird made a sound, and that specific sound became its name. So the sounds they have relevance with the words we are speaking according to the natural sound source. Although we can say that it's a very limited, the scope of this natural sound source is very limited. If we start saying that objects whatever the sounds the objects they make they become the words, then we can hardly list down only 10, 20, or 30 sounds that are similar to the names of the objects. But languages have thousands of words and unlimited sentences. When there are unlimited sentences and thousands of words, we cannot find, I mean, the words similar to their sounds. That the words they are created according to the sounds made by the objects. So the scope is very limited. For there are just a few examples that we can take to explain this theory. Bobo theory again, it's you can say natural sound source, and it believed that the pronunciation of the words uh, that echo naturally occurring sounds could be used to support the theory of natural sound. Uh, Here he again, the theory is again based on the pronunciation of the words. That the pronunciation of the words it comes naturally from the sounds from the objects, so it becomes a theory of natural sound source. And other theory, the scope is same, that the objects they make sounds and those sounds are relevant to their names given to them. Here we are talking about the pronunciation that seem to echo naturally occurring sounds, that the sounds which are making an echo means to listen the sound again and again. That sometimes in mountain area or in an empty room, when you speak a word it starts making echoes. So naturally occurring sounds could be used to support this theory. Again, these words cuckoo, splash, bang, boom, rattle, buzz, These are the sounds that imitate their objects. Like these, the names of the objects are given according to the sounds which are created or which are made by the objects. So this is also known as onomotopia. It means that the words, the sounds of the words, it has close relevance with the names given to the objects. So the Bobo theory, again, it is, you can say, a branch of natural sound source, not a branch, or you can say a subsection of natural sound source. Then we talk about that original sound of language may have come from the natural cries. Now, again, the Bobo theory, it further believe that these are the emotions, human beings' emotions. Like sometimes we create a sound when we are suddenly having some pain. Suddenly, while you get your hand or your finger burned from a stove, so a sound naturally comes on the on our tongue. So those sounds that we make in anger, in pain, in hate, or in happiness, or in sad mood, the sounds that come, they have relevance to the names given to emotions, like ouch, ah, wow. As I told you, the Pakistani women, that they say ha. So again, it's a Bobo theory. So like uh, the Bobo theory says that the emotions of human beings, they are associated with the words that are created, so it has relevance to the creation of the words. Then we have yo he ho theory. It's again a natural sound source. uh, you can say the second subsection of natural sound source, in simple words, that sounds involved in physical effort. They say that whenever we make a physical effort means that we do a heavy work, or we are riding a bicycle, or we are running fast, or we are having some weight on our head we are moving with. So this is called a physical effort. So this theory says that while doing these physical effort works, we create or we make certain sounds. So those sounds are actually the source of a language. That from those sounds it became mature and mature, and after that a complex language was created. uh, then it is, as I told you, lifting and carrying big trees or heavy objects, the sounds occur, that when we are having weight on our head. uh, then development of human language is somehow in social context. Now they believe that these sounds were there. These were the first words that humans might have spoken. That these were the sounds of emotions and sounds that were relevant to the sounds created by the objects. So this development of a language, that not the words but it became sentences and more complex language, we cannot say that it was out of social context but within the social context. Language was developed, and language made complex, and like nowadays we speak there are thousands of languages in the world, they are spoken. So the language became in such a complex form through a process of having social context with each other. The first words, according to this theory, were the natural sound sources, according to this Bobo theory, that natural sound sources, uh, natural objects, they made some sounds, and those sounds were actually the first words spoken by the human beings, and the sound, whatever the sound was produced, the name was given to specific thing or object or an animal. So coming back to Yohi Ho theory, it believes in physical effort and development of human language. As I was talking about, that it became complex in social context. We cannot study language by isolating it from society. uh, Whatever the languages, they were spoken by human groups, they must have some rules, they must have some principles, or some rules, that they used to speak sentences, they used to understand each other. So whatever the sentences were complex or not, we can, for example, we can believe that although they could have spoken one word to convey their message, but the other person could have understood it. So there was a communication was established between uh, the speaker and the listener in that specific community. So there they had some ways to communicate with each other, the early human groups or early human beings. But again, we come again to the point that there is no specific answer of to the origin of the sounds. That was it really the origin of the sounds? As I told you already, that origin of sounds and making a relevance of sounds to the objects, and believing that those were actually the words or given to the object, and in this way every object was given the name according to the sound. But there are many words which they don't have any sort of sounds, like the abstract nouns. The abstract nouns don't have any sound. Like we say love, love doesn't have any shape, doesn't have any sound. We say hate, we say anger, we say happy. So these are the abstract nouns. This theory is completely we cannot make an analysis when we talk about the abstract nouns. So this theory is out of context when it has specifically left one important section of language, that are abstract nouns. So it cannot be it can be believed that the natural sound source, it may have some relevance to the in the making of a language or in the development of a language, but we cannot say that this could have been the only source, that sounds were actually the source of words, and then it became, because to some extent it can be accepted that maybe there were thousands of years ago when the humans they started communicating with each other. So whatever the sound they heard, they used to communicate in the same sound. For example, if they have heard the sound of a lion, if they have heard the sound of a goat, so when they used to they might used to say that, making the sound of the lion, their listeners could have understood that how they are talking, that the person is talking about the lion. It could be believed that initially there must have been communication of one word communication, you can say, instead of making the communication as we have nowadays, speaking lots and lots of sentences. It could have been one word communication. But with the passage of time, as we talk about a complex language, we cannot find relevance to every object. As I told you, we can enlist only few of the words, 10, 20, 15, 30, maximum 40, where we can say that the sounds are relevant, the sounds created by the objects, they are relevant to the names given to those objects. So this was about a natural sound source theory.